Hi, John Velie, CEO with OnlineVisas, here for another episode of Immigration Solutions during the coronavirus. Today is a watershed day, one of the strangest days on my industry that I can recall, because last night, the President of the United States, put my eyeballs on, sent a tweet. Donald Trump said, in light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration into the United States. All right, I'm an immigration attorney. We don't want to hear things like that. We are trying to help people come into this country for American companies that need them to provide their services. That's what they do. This one hits close to home. So I've had a lot of questions from clients of mine on what does this mean? And that is an interesting question, and it has some interesting answers. So number one, the first thing is the ban has not happened yet. Immigration has not been suspended. Hey, Chino Martinez, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Deanne, Michelle Reinig is there too. So we're talking about immigration and the coronavirus, and today is a watershed day because of the tweet from President Trump last night that he wants to suspend all immigration into the United States, or suspend immigration into the United States. So what does that mean, suspending immigration into the United States? Rich Pearson's out there, good friends with Rich, and it's good to see you, Rich. We're talking about this. So you know, the whole world is looking at this, saying, what do we do? And I know that because our clients have been contacting us. So many of you are my clients out there, and so this is what I mean. So number one, it hasn't passed yet, but it will pass. There will be an executive order, is what I've heard. I've been on the phone to people, contacted to the White House and Capitol Hill. Hey, Dan Payne, good to see you out there. Talking about immigration right now. So the executive order hasn't been passed, and from what I hear, that you know what I'm doing? I'm just going to read you what I've told my friends and clients. I said, many of you have asked about the tweet from the president. While it's not yet in place, it will likely happen soon. I've not seen any draft of the executive order yet, and I've been told there's a lot of work that needs to be done to finalize this. The key details are forthcoming in their scope and remain in flux because the situation is very fluid. Well, why would that be? Well, the reason is that the President of the United States doesn't have the ability to just do whatever he wants. There has to be some law that comes into play. So the law that the president will likely rely on is called INA. That's the Immigration and Naturalization Act 212F. And this is to suspend the entry of immigrants into the country. So what does that mean? Suspend the entry of immigrants into the country. So it stands to reason, and we can only hope, right? This is hope, that the scope of this ban will only affect the ability of immigrants outside the United States to get in, and that therefore immigrants and non-immigrants, workers that are already here legally, won't be impacted so long as they don't leave the United States in the near future. So what does that mean? Okay, so if you're on a visa in the United States as a non-immigrant, and non-immigrant can be a student visa holder, it can be an H-1B visa holder, the alphabet soup, an O visa, a P visa, an L1, E2. These are non-immigrant visas. So the 212 talks about immigrants. Immigrants are green card holders, right? That means people applying to come into the country for green cards would be precluded under 212F. All right, so non-immigrants aren't that, and they're already in the country, right? And so how does this impact us? So one of the ways is that we just had our lottery to see who is going to be eligible to apply for the H-1B visas. We have 90 days to get those when we learned of that. So we have been collecting information from our clients to submit these H-1Bs. And will we still be able to do that if this ban goes through? So if you read the fine language of the law, then that should be permissible. Now, do I think that will happen? I don't know. I don't think anybody does. And I think it's really interesting. So here's one of the things I think that President Trump does. I think he floats things out there, right? And I don't think he floats him out there because he doesn't know what he wants to do. I think he floats him out there because he's negotiating, right? Now, why would the president put this out there? Well, there's a couple of different reasons. Number one, there's an election coming up, right? And if he can pit, this could be bait to his political opponents, that if they take the bait, then he gets to paint that he's on the side of the unemployed American workers and his opponents are on the side of the foreigners wanting to take their jobs. That is what this does from a political perspective. Immigration is a political football. It always has been. Nicholas Ravaz is out there, and Teal Benson, Arnold Sabanda, and Lisa Finnegan. Good to see you guys. Alice Langston Sloan, good to see you. People like Lisa Finnegan is probably very nervous about this. How does this impact her? So Lisa, what we're talking about is whether or not this ban would have anything to do with people who are on visas in the United States, and whether they would be able to change their status if they applied for other visas, or is that going to be stopped also? So the fine language of the law, 212F, is about, it suspends the entry of immigrants into the country. That doesn't talk about non-immigrants that are currently in the country, people on a P visa that are changing their status to an O visa, for example, or those sorts. But that doesn't mean this administration will not try to expand that. Doesn't mean that at all. This administration has expanded its interpretation of immigration in a negative way numerous times, and they've been subjected to litigation on that. So what happens, right? So what I think right now, what we have going on is the staffers at the White House are putting together this executive order, and they're trying to see how far they can go. They're having their attorneys look at it. They want to see what they do. The president's implication is he wants to suspend all of it, right? But we already know that there's some exceptions from what we hear. We hear the exceptions are going to be in the agricultural industry. Those would be H-2As and H-2Bs. There's already an article out on Politico right now called Farm Workers to be Exempt from Trump's Immigration Ban. On Politico.com. And again, people are guessing here, but we've already heard things from our contacts that is a possibility or a likely possibility that there'll be exceptions. And there should be exceptions, right? There should never be a concrete law on anything. Let's just hope these exceptions are as big as possible. So there are labor shortages in the agricultural industry, and those need to be solved. Also in the healthcare industry. Right? We need doctors, we need nurses, we need those sort of things. And I think we'll likely see an exemption to those professions. Now, what won't be exempted, right? Now, that's where I think the lobbyists come in. There's a lot of big business that's going to be hurt really badly if they cannot bring their visa holders in. And so that's what we're going to see. I see Kurt Hill's out there, the great guitarist, Julie McCoy, the doc, and former head coach of USA Rugby's women's national sevens team, and runs a great academy out there, and just a great hero of good people. So we're talking right now about immigration. We're talking about the president's tweet on Monday night that he wants to suspend immigration and what that means. And this all started because, we're bombarded with our clients that are worried about that, and our potential clients that are worried about that. What do we do? We're worried because does our job go away? I mean, I feel very bad for the hospitality industry, the restaurants. They've had to shut down. Does this shut down an immigration law firm? We don't know yet. So having these conversations with my firm has been something we've been doing throughout the day. There's an article in Business Reporter. Donald Trump's immigration ban could hit the tech sector, which is true. Depends on how they're going to do it. Will they exempt non-immigrant visas from this? Because the language of 212F, which would be the law that the president would rely on, talks about immigrants. H-1Bs are non-immigrants, and people applying from their student visas in the United States under the cap for the H-1B, would they be okay? Would companies that individuals move from company A to company B be able to transfer their visas or not? These are the questions we don't know, but we're hopeful, and I say hopeful, that the law that 212F will not permit that, and they won't take it too far. Look, we get that it's political. It's been political. It's always been political. The president might be able to use this ban to create this debate of the unemployed American worker versus the foreign worker and still not crush the economy, which is really interesting right now if you think about it, right? So we have two different concepts. We have one concept coming out of the White House: let's open up the economies right now. Things are getting better. And we have the other thing: let's close down immigration. Can you do both? I think there's a way that he reasons this that works for him, but I find them incorrect. It's going to hurt our economy if our American companies can't continue to work as optimized as they can possibly be. This is a short period of time. Now, speaking of short period of times, the length of time that we've heard is 90 days, 3 months to shut down immigration. Now, it depends again what immigration is, right? So the consulates are shut right now. The consulates are slated to reopen on May the 3rd. Right, so that's not too long from now. Here we are in late April 20th. So that was just a couple weeks from now. This ban would definitely mean that the consulates would be closed, and I think that's it. Now, maybe the consulates will just be closed for immigrant visas and not non-immigrant visas, but that's probably unlikely that that'll be a distinction. Now, the consulates, if you don't know, are the U.S. Entities outside the United States. They're usually connected with embassies. Embassies are for citizens of the United States. Consulates are for citizens of other countries that want to deal with the United States. So when you get a visa, scanned into your passport when you're out of the country, you have to go to a U.S. consulate, and those are shut down right now. All in-person interviews are shut down right now with exceptions for agricultural workers and healthcare workers, and I guess other emergency situations on a case-by-case basis. So that's where we are right now. Looks like a 90-day ban. Looks like it will, it's forthcoming. It has not been worked out. It has not gone into play yet. It may have exceptions. We've looked at exceptions for the agricultural industry and for the healthcare industry. I got a question from Nicholas Rabaza, a very good friend of mine. Nicholas, an American citizen, marrying a person from another country, and already applied for the I-130 to bring his bride in the United States. That would be an immigrant petition, and under what it looks like right now, Nicholas, that would be delayed for 90 days. But we don't know. But I think those would be the kind of visas that might be hurt. Now, I don't know that for sure. They may say, they may go along and process those that are already in the queue. Right? That's a possibility. They may just say no more new ones coming. Those are the sort of things that can come out of this when you just put a tweet out there, right? The tweet is purposeful, right? The tweet is political. The actual details of these things have to be worked out, and I believe that they hadn't been yet. I think that some pressure is put on the staff now to make something happen that resembles the tweet. I think that's how these things work. And that's why you often see this president say some things and there'll be some period of time, or he says he may do things, and that's because he's floating something out there to see what happens with it. So it'll be pretty interesting. Carolina Vivo's watching. Carolina, good to see you out there. We can always talk offline about your situation. A lot of folks are worried right now. We've been bombarded with emails, tweets, and calls about how does this impact them. I'm being a little repetitive, but this is really, really big. I've been doing this for since 1993. We've never shut down immigration. Now, we've never had a pandemic before, not like this. We've never shut down our economy before either. So I'm not surprised, right? It's not a massive news flash that this administration and how it's looked at immigration would shut it down, following the travel bans and things that it's done, right? It's done those things. I believe that the thought is that this is China's fault. And then Europe had it, and we couldn't let those folks come in, and people with these diseases might make us sick. That's part of it. The other part is now we have a lot of unemployed people, and we need to put them first ahead of foreigners taking jobs. The unfortunate thing, and I even started having these conversations, and I've had them with a lot of people in a lot of areas, but we really have to change the dialogue of how immigrants are being described in this country. The facts don't meet it that immigrants are taking jobs of Americans. Not that none happen, but the real reality is that immigrants are needed in numerous industries that end up creating jobs for Americans and end up having us lead the world in certain industries that we wouldn't lead if we didn't have immigration. One of those is tech. So I'm speaking to you on a smartphone. Smartphones are actually probably made in China now, but the knowledge and the company of Apple is in Silicon Valley, right? They have to hire people to design the technology that goes into this. We just don't have the numbers or the talent to be the best in the world without having the world help us. And that's been our secret sauce forever. Okay, forever we have done this in this country. It's not time to shut the door now and isolate ourselves, although that is a political issue, right? Get away from the politics. Think about the situation. One of the biggest issues in the last election was that jobs were leaving America or had left America, and we're trying to get them back in manufacturing. Well, jobs are leaving technology, right? Where those are much higher paying jobs. And for every one H-1B worker, it creates 1.8 jobs for Americans. So that's almost 2 to 1. Every time we hire a foreign worker to come in on an H-1B, we get almost 2 jobs for Americans because of that. Well, think about it, right? A lot of the H-1B workers are STEM. What that means, science, technology, engineering, and math, right? They're being hired into our tech sector. Many of them are coming from India. Some are coming from Iran. Some are coming from China. Some are coming from Russia. Some are coming from just around the world because they know technology and they're really good. And many of them went to American universities. Not all of them. We got to get them from everywhere. But in order to keep our being at the top of the tech world, we need to bring in this talent, and it's creating jobs for us. Now, if we don't let them into our environment to work, where do they go? Do they stay in their own countries like India? Absolutely they do. Now, what's happening? American companies are moving their campuses to India, and American jobs are not following. They're just filling them with Indian jobs because they can fill the Indian jobs cheaper, right? So we're cutting our nose off to spite our face by saying that we don't want to have immigration. We're having our government create laws, arbitrary laws based on numbers and waiting limits and stuff like that that are curbing the ability for our companies to hire the best in the world so that they can continue to be the best in the world. And the jobs are going someplace else. And our jobs that Americans are holding, not just the tech jobs, the sales jobs, the marketing jobs, the management of the tech sector, those things can go away too, right? Especially the management of the tech sector. Those are big, high-paying middle management jobs that were held down by Americans and are going away. So this isn't a good thing. In addition to that, less people are coming to our universities because they wanted to join into our environment, our wonderful environment where anybody can come over here, and if they do well in school and they get someone to hire them, they can have a great job in our very dynamic economy. We have lost, and this is prior to COVID, but we've lost 25% of our Indian and Chinese students coming to America because it's too difficult for them to get visas after they do that. Now, so this administration has been wanting to do this from the beginning. Michael Miller is an architect of these things, right? And so this was an opportunity to do this using both the economy and both the COVID-19 virus to shut this down. Now, if it's just going to be a temporary period because we want people to be healthy, I completely support that. 100%. I am completely supporting people sheltering in place. I'm completely supporting people not gathering and getting each other sick. And in line with that, this makes sense. But we do not have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. We do not have to have an overall ban. We can make this different. There should be an exception for people in the United States on a status moving to another company that wants them on a status so that they can help that company stay alive right now. Companies are trying to survive in a really tough market. They're having people work from home, right? We should not make it too difficult for them to do whatever they need to do to survive, and get it done. This is going to be over soon. Let's get past this. I hope reasonable heads jump into this thing so that we don't make a blanket across the board denial of this. It's going to hurt us in the long run. You can see it happening. So on those, this is John Velie. I hope you're sheltering in place and you're healthy. This is a tough day for my industry, the immigration industry, obviously, but there's still a lot of questions out there. Things have not been set in stone. You can still do things to support your local congressional leaders. You can contact them and tell them why, in your instance, if you are a foreign national and you're in the United States, that they should make an exemption from you so that you can continue processing your visa, those sorts of things, right? Those are important things that you can tell your congressional leader, even if you're a non-immigrant and you can't vote. Even if you can't vote, you're influential. Call your congressional leaders. They need to hear from you, right? They need to hear that we need to carve some exceptions. We understand what we need to do to beat this pandemic. We're not asking for an exception to have an advantage over other people, especially American workers. But we need to have our companies be able to hire who they need to so they can survive during a really, really difficult time. On that, I'm John Velie. I see some friends of mine popped in the end. Mark Homie Santiago, Matt Singleton, Ibrahim Musayayi. Thanks for showing up, guys. I'll be back tomorrow. There'll be definitely some more information on that. You can go to our website, OnlineVisas.com. We'll try to keep that updated. You can private message me if this concerns you, your company, your life, your loved ones, your friends. Glad to talk about it. Take care. See ya.